This video is brought to you by The Boy Without Magic, an all ages dark fantasy available in ebook and paperback. Links in the description. I've been a fan of the work of Junji Ito and H.P. Lovecraft for some time now, ever since reading Uzumaki and Reanimator. Everything about them, from the futility of Lovecraft's characters, the energy of Ito's art, just drew me in and led me to check out more of their work like the seminal Tomi or the classic At the Mountains of Madness. So when this game was announced with clear inspiration from both creators' works, I was naturally drawn to it. World of Horror is a retro RPG roguelite, released in early access with a heavy emphasis on random storytelling. Now I know what you're asking, does it succeed? Does it live up to the legacy of terror established by its inspirations? Well, sit back and let me tell you how it is. Now right off the bat, this game is very much feature complete. A nice thing to see from an early access title. Every mechanic that's necessary at the core of the experience is here and accounted for, as well as what's needed to form a somewhat cohesive narrative. The general setup for the story is always the same. You've returned to your old hometown to investigate some strange goings on and stop some cultists from unleashing an eldritch god that'll destroy the world. But everything you encounter in the story itself, the real meat and potatoes, is randomized for each run. From the mysteries you explore, what random encounters you have, and what god the cultists are trying to awaken, and there's already a great variety of things to see and do. Something that's helped by the mysteries having multiple endings, which incentivizes you to replay them in later runs and see what happens, and these can be pretty compelling short stories that play into the wider narrative. The same though cannot be said about the random encounters. As of right now, there is a very limited number of them, and it can be immersion breaking when one from a mystery you finished is repeated in the next one, or contradicts what exactly you're doing in the current mystery. Case in point, in one mystery I was investigating a ramen shop, and while waiting in line I was in an encounter where my character was now on a train platform, trying to decide whether or not to get on before then entering the shop. I blame this on the game's early access status, and once updates bring it closer towards completion, it'll be interesting to see how the mysteries play out with less encounter repetition or events that contradict what's going on in the current part of the story. If it wasn't clear enough, this game takes heavy inspiration from early Japanese visual novels and RPGs of the 80s, a stylistic choice that very much gives the game a unique look and lends itself well to being scary. The monsters, creatures, and people you fight in combat are both rich in detail, yet still lacking. The limitation imposed by this style gives you enough detail to know what it is you're looking at, but leaves out just the right amount that your mind fills in the gaps, potentially making an encounter with a new foe nerve-wracking when you do face them. The sound design also does help play into this, making things feel more otherworldly. But this doesn't stop the game from being an eyesore. I got eye strain multiple times while playing this thanks to the heavy contrast, so my runs with World of Horror were very stop and start, and usually no longer than 90 minutes. It also doesn't help that thanks to this style, it can be hard to tell just where pieces of the UI are located, since everything just kind of blends into everything else into one big pixelated mess. The game does come with filters to stylize it to resemble running on other systems, like the Virtual Boy, and these can not only ease the potential for eye strain, but can also give the horror a fresh coat of paint. But it can't undo how cluttered and cramped the UI is, and the confusion it causes when you're trying to just do something useful like leveling up. Now, the combat is based around a simple turn-based system, but has an addition that gives it a good deal of depth, a time meter. Essentially, each action has to be queued up, but different actions cost different amounts of time to carry out. This allows you to really plan out your strategy and take advantage of abilities, items, or allies to either wear an enemy down so they're less of an immediate threat, or improve the odds of knocking the life out of them. Combat also has almost as much variety to it as the story. In fact, elements of the story can impact combat, and vice versa. One example would be the god that's going to awaken. The gods add modifiers to the game, which gives them both a passive and active presence. One god will make it so that running away from combat can never be an option, while another may change the cost of using magic to also increasing the doom meter, a ticking clock that puts every run on a time limit, because when the god awakens, it's game over. The opposite though is that unless you have certain equipment in your inventory or gain certain perks for a character in your current run, then some options in events just won't be available, diverting you away from narrative threads and potentially some endings for the investigations. My time with World of Horror was nothing short of fantastic. It did become repetitive after a few runs, but considering its early access status and short length, that is forgivable, especially when the quality on display is nothing short of great in its incomplete state, and it can only become an even more terrifying experience as the updates are rolled out. Well, I hope you all enjoyed this review. It was awesome to put together, and this game was terrifying. Now for my next upcoming game review, I'm going to be taking a look at Doom Eternal. And I also recently got my hands on Borderlands 3, now that's finally on Steam, so I may also do a first impressions video in the meantime. And for movie reviews, I'm going to be doing a retro review looking back at the original Naked Gun. I've got all that and more coming up, so please stick around.